Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World, the groundbreaking Tony Award-winning Best Musical Spring Awakening, which took Broadway by storm, reunited the original cast for a 15th anniversary, one-night-only benefit concert for the Actors Fund. Well, now HBO Documentary Films has put together Spring Awakening, Those You've Known, which features performances from the concert, behind-the-scenes moments, and never-before-told stories about the creation of the musical. It will kick off on May 3rd on HBO and HBO Max, and I am joined by two of the show's stars, Jonathan Groff and Michele. I am so excited to see the two of you.
Oh my gosh.
See you, and I love the Spring Awakening poster in the back.
Just that we're between Gwen Verdon and Angela Lansbury and
God,
company.
I'm so
This
blind,
really,
I can't see.
Yeah.
But I know those legs and that
shoulder.
that arm. Yeah.
You two look sensational. This documentary is so sensational. It's everything it should be. I want to ask the two of you, how magical was the night for you of this reunion concert? Like, can you put into words? Like, Leah, I'll start with you.
It's really hard to put into words. That's why I'm so happy that we have this documentary so we can actually just watch it, because it was such a overwhelmingly emotional, exhilarating, night. Jonathan, Lauren Pritchard was the one who, came up with the idea of doing a reunion concert. And thanks to Jonathan and Lauren, they facilitated it. We were doing Zooms with the whole cast sporadically between when they approached us with the idea and November, and when we did the concert in November. But I don't think we all expected it to be as emotional as it was. I mean, that first day in the music rehearsal with Kim Brigsby, we were all an emotional wreck. I think also coming out of, quarantining and this COVID world, just being in a room, I don't think I'd been in a room with that many people in so long. Having just had a child, I haven't sang in a really long time. So there were so many emotions and so many reasons why this was just an explosion of emotions. I've said that word 20 times now. But I'm so grateful. I just saw the documentary last night with Groff and Gallagher, and I'm so happy because it was such a blur also. So that it was like being shown a dream that I had, and I got to watch the entire thing, and it was so wonderful.
It was one of those nights in the theater. Yeah. No, sorry. Did you want to ask a question?
No, I want you to go how it meant for you.
Yeah. It was like, there are those nights where you've had them. I mean, there are those handful of nights where you're like, I was in the theater and this thing happened. And it was something where everything aligned in a very kind of like meant to be. The audience was explosive. It was all fans of the show. It was a miracle that it came together with all of the union requirements and getting a theater on the night off and in the middle of 2 COVID breakouts. And it just like the show demanded to be performed one more time. Yeah. And it might be my favorite night in a theater that I ever was in.
Oh, that's for sure.
And I remember Michael Mayer, who was who came backstage afterward, and he was like, thank God there were cameras. Yeah. Thank God this is captured, because this was like a moment of our lives that was so profound. We had a drink with Gallagher a couple of nights after the concert, and he articulated something that everybody in the cast felt. He said, I think now I can go on with the rest of my life. I didn't know how much I was holding on to. I didn't know how much I needed to reconnect with this group and this material and be reminded how it changed all of us in such a profound way.
It was a very healing experience in so many ways to reconnect after so many years. I mean, we all text each other. We have our Spring Awakening group chat, but this was so unbelievable to reintroduce ourselves to one another now as adults, and some of us are parents. It has bonded us in a way now that you can't really put into words.
How did you keep it together? Like, you walked on stage that night. You knew it was going to be a Broadway rock concert, but not like what you got that night. And how did you hold back the emotions?
I mean, Jonathan didn't. He just let it rip. I had to really kind of, fight like fight the emotions because I wanted to be present and I really wanted to feel every single moment. But when I stood on the chair at the top of the show and the audience applauded, and I felt that energy from a crowd, and then just the support and energy from the cast behind me, who's like my family, I just was like, I needed to cry, and I did. And I stood there and I just cried for a second. And then I was like, get your shit together, Leah, you've got to sing the song and start the show. And then I was singing the song and I was like, I'm going to pass out. I'm going to pass out. Totally going to pass out. It was unbelievable. So wild. So wild.
And everyone keeps saying, oh, it's just going to come right back. It's just going to come right back. And then we got to the theater and I was like, oh my God, am I ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Places Call, Places for the Top of the show.
We were pinching ourselves. We're doing it again. The second we all walked out, it felt like we were the Beatles.
The plan was we walk in and sit down, but we were so connected to each other that we knew to stand there and enjoy this wave of enthusiasm. And everyone is like, holy fucking shit. Like this is happening right now.
Like, Jonathan, the first time you opened your mouth that night, were you able to like get the words out right away?
If you please, my son.
If you please,
If
is
you
the
please.
first thing I said. And I remember feeling like, it's so funny because I cried, like I cried so much. And I cried during the scenes in rehearsal. Like
Yeah.
I'd be doing the scene with Leah and she was like, Jonathan, get your fucking shit
No,
together.
I let you. I think the rest of the cast was like, get your shit together.
It's like, I know I need to like be able to speak. I couldn't speak, but I stood up and said, if you please. The audience applauded for each character as they came out. And I had this revelation in that moment of like, oh, I have to deliver Milky Way.
Yeah.
I got to give the kids the show.
Right.
We got to like actually
Put
do the show.
ourselves aside.
Yes.
And our emotions.
And so I just saved it. I just like repressed it until those you've known. And then I just like let it all
When
go.
you sobbed on the ground, I was watching the documentary and I was like, oh, he's letting out. I think like the tears from the bowels of his core that is not, yet been able to let out.
Because I remember being there. I mean, you were all so young when this all started. I was at your first press meet and greet. You were like,
remember Richie Ridge, of course.
And you were babes in the woods then. You had no idea what the show was about. I look back at these interviews, you were like, we're involved in this thing. We don't really know what it is. At what point did you realize how special Spring Awakening was going to be? And if you could just tell me how personal, what it means to you personally to have been a part of this show. Because shows come and go, but there's something about Spring Awakening that is unlike anything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many incredible shows that have graced the Broadway stages, but I think that, what Spring Awakening has done for the lives of children, we made such an impact. These themes and the subject matter are just as important now as they were in 2006. So to be able to introduce this piece now to this generation is a huge honor with our documentary. But I don't know if there was one specific moment. I remember watching John Gallagher and Lauren Pritchard during Tech when they were prepping Don't Do Sadness, Blue Wind. And we had just gotten to the Broadway Theater and we were at the Eugene O'Neill and we did not know the fate of our show. And Lauren came up to the balcony where I was sitting and she said, what's gonna happen, Leah? Like, is this show gonna last? And I just looked at her and I was like, if you just do Oh my God. I just said to her, I was like, if you do what you just did every night, then the show will run forever, because it was, we had magic there every night, and we had a big responsibility of delivering, the subject matter every night. But it was also therapeutic and fun and beautiful, and we were so young, but to have the opportunity to come back 15 years later was such a gift. Oh my God, this is so.
I cried through most of the documentary, just so you know. I bawled my eyes out, just knowing that I was with
God.
Jonathan. For you, what this whole experience and this show means to you personally.
Yeah, try answering that simple question.
Just really quick.
Just really quick.
Yeah.
I think the documentary tells so many stories. It's telling several stories at once. It's telling the story of how the show changed our lives. And one of the things that I'm really excited about that it also tells the story of is the journey and the power of Spring Awakening, the piece itself, and what a work of art it is. And it's hard to describe as a show. They couldn't get backers, they couldn't get producers, we couldn't get an audience for a very long time, because it is breaking form. It's a challenging work of art, and it's unlike anything else. And that we got to be a part of that when we were in our teens and 20s changed the DNA of what we crave as performers, what we demand from new material. It raised the bar in such a major way. Not to mention that it bonded us forever. It changed all of our lives personally and professionally. But the fact that the legacy of this show is continuing on in a I think more people, because of just the nature of television, will see this documentary than ever saw the show Spring Awakening. This material is going to be available to so many more people. And I love that, because I want the next form-bending musical to be written, and I want it to just grow and grow and grow and see more challenging theater like Spring Awakening. And also, this show saves young people's lives. And during that time, I was in the closet and I was living a very compartmentalized existence, and that show saved me. And that people in the show, like Leah, who supported me, and they also saved me. And whenever this show gets done, whenever I've seen it, community theater, high school, colleges, everywhere, they have the same experience that we had. And that is going to continue on and on and on and on, and hopefully more and more, because of this documentary is our job. It's our job to continue that train, to continue passing the baton of the show to the next generation.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your Places Call, Places for the Top of the show.
Spring Awakening was so hard to describe. 1891 Germany rock music, there's children in it.
The gay scene, abortion, the sex, the suicide. There was never anything like this that's ever happened on stage.
The controversial nature meant that we never thought about Broadway.
But it touched a nerve.
We became rock stars.
Getting back together after 15 years is going to be insane.
For the years we worked on it, we were rejected everywhere, and everyone thought we were out of our minds.
When we were in previews, we were losing money big time. It was a disaster.
It really didn't start well.
Michael said to the cast, the future of this is in your hands. And that night, something happened in that theater.
If you were able to see Spring Awakening at the Atlantic Theater, you got to see something very special.
People were jumping for joy and shouting. It was totally surreal.
It felt like we were the Beatles.
We, of course, loved our show and loved playing our characters, but the real fun we had was off stage together.
Through the cast and through the opportunity of getting to play this character, I had grown this strength. And it changed my whole life.
God is, this can't be it. Oh God, what a bitch.
The things that we confront in this show are not things you can learn in school. And they're things that help people survive.
That's kind of what got us through it every night, knowing how important it was to tell that story.
This was not about this reunion. This was an opportunity to be with those kids and see who they've become.
I would not have survived the experience if it wasn't for all of you.
I learned that dreams can come true.